What is up, guys? I'm Jack William, and in today's episode of Before the Money, I had the absolute pleasure of hosting two e-commerce entrepreneurs, James Conti and Aiden Gatani. At the ripe old age of 21, these boys have founded and scaled multiple online brands, including Brightly Teeth and their insanely impactful eCom Boss coaching program, helping people around the world just like you and I to achieve financial freedom through e-commerce. Now, we break down the habits and skills developed as teenagers that enabled them to achieve the wild levels of success early in life, as well as the circumstances that motivated them down the extremely turbulent road of entrepreneurship. Now, make sure you stay all the way to the end of this episode, because no matter your mission, you will find a nugget of gold in this episode for you. Now, as always, this show is proudly brought to you by Anarchy Label. Visit anarchylabel.com and use the code BTM15 to save yourself 15% off incredible products. Now, we are putting our all into spreading the message of growth and positivity, and we want to grow with you. So if we leave you with an ounce of value from this episode, please drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify and share this episode to your channel of choice. Seriously, anything you can do to help out goes a very, very long way. By now, I'm sure you know the show's motto. Success does not depend on what we achieve, but who we become. And by feeding your mind with growth-provoking content like Before the Money, you are breaking free from society's limiting beliefs and making the conscious decision to become the person capable of achieving the life of your dreams. So I'm very, very excited to present this episode to you today. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Welcome back to another episode of Before the Money. I am super fucking pumped for this one. We have James Conti and Aiden Gatani, eCom whiz, eCom bosses is probably a better way of putting it. How are you boys doing?
Fantastic, Jack. Thanks for having us on.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thank you guys for giving me your time. Super valuable. And I know I'm really grateful, and my audience is going to get a lot of value from this episode. So the way I love to kick this off is, and I'm going to direct this at you, James, first of all. What gets you fired up, brother?
Dude, above all else is I have a vision board, value board, literally right in front of me and in my bathroom. And I have a list of my values. And number 3 on it is competitive greatness. Mm-hmm. And all that means is I'm not competing with what everybody else is doing. I'm not competing with what I see on TV or Instagram. I'm competing with my own greatness and what I can become. So every single morning I look at that. I look at who could I become? And then every single day it's just a race to get there.
Wow, I love that. Hey, you're in your own lane, and that's basically like the most motivating thing there possibly could be. On that note, I'm like partway through listening to or watching the show, The Last Dance, about like the Bulls and Michael Jordan and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but his self-motivation and his like pure drive and ambition is like so infectious. Like it's been the best. It's like a guilty pleasure of mine at the moment. Like when I want to take 2 seconds to myself and just chill, I like watch that show and I'm just like, holy fuck, I'm not doing enough. You know, it's fantastic. Yeah. So Aiden, what fires you up, brother?
Oof, good question. To be honest, if you asked me that question like 3 years ago, I probably would have said money. But at the moment it's impact. And The reason why it's shifted is because, like, gone ahead, we've built multiple businesses together. We've had the success, the money and all that sort of stuff. And although it's a lot of fun, it does leave you wanting more, right? And for me at the moment, that's impact. And I want to make as much impact as possible.
Yeah, and you guys are definitely doing that as well. And e-commerce is such an incredible vehicle to do that. You don't have to come from money. You don't have to have fancy equipment to transform your life. If you're willing to put in the time and the dedication and stuff to learn the skills, and you're willing to fail above all else, you know, so that's fantastic. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background story to how you guys got into e-commerce? Now, just before we got started, you guys mentioned you're both 21 at the moment. That is super, super young, especially to kind of have the success, obviously both monetary, but also like with impact, like you were talking about, to have that kind of impactful success at such a young age. You've got to be like super proud of that. So I want to know how you got started down this journey. Actually, you know what? Fuck that. Why on earth did you want to work for yourself? Like, how on earth did you know that was your calling from such a young age? Aiden, why don't you take the lead on this one, man?
Fantastic question. So I don't know what age it would have been, maybe around like 8 or something. I've always had like that passion to want to start a business. I don't know what it came from, but I do have vivid memories of like being a kid and going through phases, such as like a dinosaur phase, for example. And I would immediately go like, how can I monetize this? You know, and you would think about delusional things like starting some sort of like dinosaur theme park or something like that. Then it would be cars, right? And you'd go through a car phase, and I wanted to start like a car dealership, right? And then I love video games, and I was like, okay, I want to start like a video game company. I don't know where it came from, probably because my family are very business oriented and entrepreneurship and all that sort of stuff. So I would assume it came from that, but for the longest time, I've wanted to start a business, and the main reason being for that impact, the freedom, and all that sort of, you know, fun stuff, being able to do whatever you want whenever.
Yeah, that's insane. And is that kind of a similar circumstance for you, James?
Yeah, 100%. I had the exact same phases thing.
Yeah.
I became obsessed with a little bit more of the abstract stuff. So growing up, I was obsessed with superheroes. I was a dancer. I was a magician. I did magic for a few years. I made my first bit of money actually selling magic tricks online. I went through all these different phases: music, rapping. I was even in a metal band at some point. But the common thread through all of it was creating. And it was creating things that came from my heart and what I'm passionate about. And it still follows through to this day.
So being a musician, right? So that was kind of like your first taste in entrepreneurship, was it? Oh, yeah. Did I say magician or musician? Magician. Yeah. So was that your first taste of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, it was a funny story because the whole thing that people don't understand is that magic you can learn in books and stuff like that. But really, if you want the really cool tricks, and these are the tricks that the magicians like Dynamo do on TV, right? They're created by basically magic consultants. And these consultants create these incredible tricks and they sell them on like the magic marketplace. And they're like $30, $40, $100, sometimes they're multiple hundreds of dollars. And I wanted to learn them, but I was 14, 15. I didn't have the money for them. And so what I did was I struck up a deal with a wholesale company of these magic tricks. And I said, hey, I'm going to review these tricks if you send them to me for free on my little Weebly site. And I got like $500 a month worth of free magic sent to my house. And essentially I created a little review blog. Now, I didn't do the smart thing, which was turn it into an affiliate business because I didn't know what that was. I was just loving the free magic. But eventually I got a little bit of recognition and I started creating my own magic tricks. And essentially what happened was they would sell for $20 to $30 a pop. I sold the rights to a magic company and I made about $1,000 USD a couple of times selling these different magic tricks. And I was like, this is amazing. It got sent to my PayPal and it was my money. And it was like the best feeling ever.
That's insane. So the first thing I'm getting out of that story right now is like you encountered an obstacle, right? Not having enough money. And the first thing that you did was, you know, piece together a few dots and say, oh, hang on, I don't necessarily need money to get the same result or to get that same product, right? And I definitely feel like that is one of the most valuable traits as an entrepreneur is problem solving and like piecing together these different puzzles, because it's not always, well, actually very, very seldom is it handed to us on a silver platter when I'm talking about like the solution to a problem. So especially from at that age, like what were you, like 14 or so?
14, 15, yeah.
Yeah, 14, 15, and to kind of have that drive to say, oh, you know, I don't have the money to pay for it, but yet I'm still going to get it. I'm still going to wheel and deal and stuff like that. And that's like very, very valuable. Same with you and kind of your, Aiden, with your ideas, starting like the theme parks and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, all that stuff would have been met with great difficulty. And yet the creativity inside you guys was just looking at the solutions, right? And that is a very, very valuable trait for entrepreneurs. So I commend that. So now that we've kind of painted the picture of you guys coming up when you were young and stuff like that, let's dive into the e-commerce space because it's really, really hot right now. And I've seen your ads popping up for probably the last couple of years. So I've seen your faces and stuff like that. So whoever wants to take this away, how did you guys first get into e-com? And then I really want to know from that how you guys came together, because there's lots and lots of power in forming like a strong partnership, especially if you guys have accenting traits, which I know just from my first meeting you, I feel like you guys have a really good relationship in terms like you bring different things to the table. So how did you get started into e-commerce? And take it away, Aiden, and then we'll go from there.
Yes. So, good question. I mean, first of all, e-commerce wasn't my first, online business that I tried to start, and same with James. I originally started, like copywriting and all that sort of stuff, and then I come from a tech background. Then I learned about, ads, and I fell in love with ads because it's very, very technical. And then at like a uni sundowner, we met and we just really, really hit it off. We clicked, right? And James actually introduced like e-commerce to me. James, did you have a little bit more experience with e-commerce before me?
Yeah. So really what people sort of misinterpret sometimes is they think that it's all about making money online. And the way that we view it is that nobody makes money online. What happens is people have skills that they use online and end up making money with, right? So what happened was we were building different skills. We didn't start with a business model, make money online in the beginning. We started with, I started with email marketing. That was my first skill. I learned copywriting. I learned sales. I learned closing. I learned how do you create an irresistible offer. It's the same with Aiden. He learned tech. He learned advertising. It was these skills that eventually funneled into building e-commerce businesses. It was a really great amalgamation of all those skills. But it wasn't a business model that we jumped right into. We built all these skills. And it's the same thing we tell our students, right? E-commerce is an amazing business model, but don't forget you're building skills that you can apply to anything, online and offline. And that's the beautiful thing about e-commerce.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I relate that heavily to kind of my story as well. Like I've had, before I kind of got started with my clothing brand, I had a bunch of different like online businesses, offline businesses and stuff like that. Some of them hit it off, some of them didn't. But regardless, every time I set out for a new venture, I was picking up new skills. I was picking up a new set of network and stuff like that. And so by the time, 6 or 7 businesses down the track, stuff was like second nature to me. I sit down to build an online store and you get it done in 12 hours, and that in the first time I sat down to build a Shopify store, you're like, oh, what the fuck's a domain? You know what I mean? But it's like with every new attempt, you get that closer and closer and closer. And that's why I really commend you guys for like being so young and like being like so dedicated to your craft and to your skills. And I can tell that you've been on this journey for a while already, just based on like how confident you're speaking about your craft and stuff like that. And that's really like what it comes down to in entrepreneurship. It's time in the seat, it's time fighting the battles and failing above everything else. So going back to this partnership, so how do you guys feel like you guys work together? Because out of all the books that I've read and things like that, there has to be some kind of polarity in skills to make a really strong partnership. Now, I know Aiden, like you kind of come from a tech background. James, I'm just guessing you're maybe more on like the marketing creative side. So how do you guys work together?
Basically, and this is the reason why we work so well together, right? And we even tell some of the students where it's like, being in a business relationship, having a business partner, it sounds really sexy up front. It's like, we get to work together with the buddies until you start clashing, until you've got work involved, until something doesn't go well. So you need to make sure you're with the right pairing. Otherwise, you're better off doing it on your own. The reason why me and Aiden work so well is because we're polar opposites of the spectrum. Aiden is very numbers driven, data driven. He's so good at what he does with data and tech and coding, all these incredible skills that he has that I would never be able to comprehend in my life. And I'm really good at the marketing, the ideas, the copywriting, the creativity, the funnels, all these amazing things, the sales, the speaking. It's what I love, right? And so what happens is whenever we're working on a new thing like e-commerce projects, like Brightly, things we've got coming next year in regards to e-commerce, or whether it's eCom Boss, it's things we're doing with our students. Aiden's coming in on the tech side. It's how do we actually systemize this? How do we make sure it's working? How do we scale it? And I'm more on the marketing side, the messaging side. How do we influence people? How do we lead people? And how do we create something that's irresistible that people want to take action on? So whenever we're doing a new project, we're separating the responsibilities based on that. And so we can get something done in half the time because we're both working individual parts of it. And if there's other moments where we clash or we have conflict, which of course we do, every type of business partnership does, we know how to resolve them pretty quickly.
Yeah. And so when you were piecing together this partnership, did you set like clear, I want to say kind of boundaries of say like, this is your expertise within the business and this is my expertise within the business? Did you set that from the get-go or were you kind of figuring it out along the way?
I think it was kind of just implied, to be honest. Because we were young, like we were 19, we're nearly 22 now. We're 19, so we're just like, let's go. Like we learned all this over time. But it was just very, very clear. He would teach me tech. He would teach me stuff like how do you put a domain into an online store and all this kind of stuff when I was 19, right? I didn't know it. He would teach me the tech side of stuff, and I would teach him the marketing side of stuff. And in the end, both understand it on a base level, but we stick to our strengths. And it's just always been like that ever since.
Yeah, fantastic. And so another question I've got for you guys, because obviously it's very fulfilling to teach people. Once you've reached like a success level of some kind, it's very fulfilling to then pass on that knowledge to, you know, students and stuff like that. So at what point did you guys feel comfortable within yourselves to say, hey, you know what, like I feel like I'm at a point now where, you know, I can then teach people. Now, Aiden, if you feel comfortable talking about that, like I'd love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, well, I think for me at least, it was the moment that I got what I wanted out of e-commerce, and yeah, that was honestly like the freedom, being able to like move out, buy a car, all that fun stuff, and realizing how much that changed my life, and how much impact that brought me and my family. Knowing that I could help someone else do the same thing who was in a similar situation to me was very meaningful for me.
Yeah, 100%. No, I can relate to that as well. And I'm at the stage currently now where, like, you know, I'm teaching people around me certain skills and stuff like that. And I'm not charging. I'm just doing it for the love. You know, I'm doing it because I've got the experience. I want to help the kind of people around me. But I'm starting to look at the horizon now. Like, am I at the stage where I can start to build out a little bit of a course, or maybe even small coaching programs? I'm not sure, but there's still that voice in the back of your mind going, hang on, like, can I be teaching people? Like, am I at that level? You know what I mean? So yeah,
I think, I agree. There's a lot of bullshit out there. And I think when you get to the point where you've achieved something meaningful in your life, I think it's almost everyone's obligation to share that with other people, whether it's, you know, free or paid. There's a lot of value in that. Like, sharing with people what has impacted your life and made like a huge difference and a huge impact. I think it's super important.
Yeah, really fulfilling. Have you got anything to say on that, James?
Yes. So actually, one of the biggest things for me, and I was actually thinking about this the other day, ironically, was one of the reasons why I love coaching, right? I love our program. I love our students. And you'll see that, you know, compared to a lot of the gurus and people with the flashy cars and the diamond watches, which obviously I don't wear, right? Like, everyone loves to claim and do little courses and stuff like that to make some cash on the side. But the way that we approach our program is all about impact. It really is all hands-on. We spend every single day on calls with students, and it's all designed that way. And the reason why we did wasn't for a payday. It's because the reason why we got where we are is because we're not self-made, right? We're not claiming that we figured all this out on our own. We're not, you know, we didn't just sit in a basement and come up with the entire e-commerce business model on our own. We hired coaches. We bought a ton of courses, right? We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching in some way, shape, or form. Right? Whether it's business or health or e-commerce or mindset or sales or whatever it may be, fitness, right? Everything we've done has been the result of hiring mentors and learning from them and growing. And that's why we've gone up so quickly. And so because we've learned the value of that and we've seen how it's transformed our lives, if we never came across that, we wouldn't be here on this interview right now. We want to give that back to students in the best format possible, with the best outcome possible, instead of giving them a little crappy course and then moving on with the money, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we love. And kind of the reason why we do it is because of that impact it had on us.
When you're bringing kind of people through that process, do you feel like it helps you within your own businesses as well?
100%. You see different things, you learn different things, and more often than not, being able to have even more reference experience of what happened with this brand, what happened with this brand. Yeah, we also learn things for ourselves. In fact, one of the funniest things that I actually read recently is, you know, ClickFunnels, right? Russell Brunson, the owner of that. He can see everybody's funnel, right? The best funnels are doing 8-9 figures, if not more. He sees everything. He knows everything that's working because he owns the software, right? And so what happens is people are now trying to create their own softwares to get off there because he's copying everything they're doing. Now, we don't do that with our students at all, but we do learn different bits and pieces. And hey, it does benefit us in a way, right? We see what's trending right now because, you know, they're doing dropshipping each and every day. And so we learn a lot from that, which is really, really cool. And obviously we get to pass that back to them in the forms of more videos, different masterclasses, live challenges that we do with them. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. And just on that note as well, what Russell has done with like the 2 Comma Club is absolute marketing gold. So that's a beautiful 100%. Kind of segue into what kind of person can get into e-commerce and be successful in e-commerce?
Yeah. So above all else, and this is actually something Tony Robbins says, above all else, you can have the strategies, you can have the mindset, you can have all these different things, you have the best mentor in the world. But the number one thing that separates people who succeed versus those who try for a second and then give up is literally just hunger. It's hunger to do it in the long term. So when we have somebody who comes to us and, they're motivated for 2 weeks and they give up, they're not going to get as far as somebody who comes in and they're hungry and they're committed to going the long run. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so somebody who may come in and maybe they make 10 grand in their first month with their first store, that's great. But then their hunger drops. And then when the sales start to dip, because obviously if you don't maintain it, it's going to die, they give up. But somebody could have 5 failed stores, but they have the hunger, and a 6th one, they're at 100K a month, for example, right? Mm-hmm. It's always about the hunger. Everything else is secondary.
Yeah. No, I definitely 100%. Get that. Do you have anything to say on that, Aiden?
100%. It's all about hunger and having a really strong why. And it's super corny. Everyone says you've got to have a why, but you really do. And you've got to have a why that will get you up every single day for the next 5-10 years. Because that's sometimes how long it takes, right? No, it's not an overnight thing. It takes time and you got to push through.
What was your why?
For me, my biggest why was, obviously having an impact, right? Not only on myself, other people as well. Just to give you as well a little bit of backstory, I came from tech background, and ever since I was very, very young, I was always coding really cool projects, such as, for example, when I was 18, I created like an AI algorithm that if you fed it an image of like a skin lesion, it would detect whether it was skin cancer or not. The reason why I built something like that is because I wanted to have impact and I wanted to help people. And there's obviously a reason why I pivoted from, tech to e-commerce, because it's just an easier business to get into. Obviously, you don't have all the, all the technical challenges of building a, multi-million-dollar tech startup, right? It was easy to get into, easier for me to start getting that impact and put in the reps. And obviously, I will eventually get back into something like tech, right? When I have, the multi-millions of dollars, I can invest back into something like that.
Yeah. And there's like venture capital and getting funding and stuff like that. Is that anything on your horizons at the moment?
Good question. So I love getting funding. I think it's fantastic. But at least for me, I saw all the struggles of, previous, idols that I look up to and tech CEOs, like Elon Musk and stuff like that. And you hear all these like shitty stories about them for years, having to like sleep on the office floor and, showering at the YMCA and stuff like that. And I didn't want any of that. I don't think I needed to go through any of that. I think, having some sort of capital, such as from e-commerce, fund, my tech ventures would be much better off than having to, go through the unnecessary struggles.
Exactly. And you guys are positioning yourself really well. And just to kind of go back to Russell Brunson and the ClickFunnels operation, they were completely self-funded. They worked out the process and they funded themselves. They just funneled all their money back into ads, and they were turning big ROIs over so that they could build this 100%. Beast basically on the back of their own efforts. So I feel like that's the power of e-commerce. It's like when I did an interview with Dacian Sparks Young. Are you guys familiar with him at all? Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
He's a good mate of mine. And like one thing that really stood out about his story is he was going at it for 9 months and just failure after failure after failure. And then when it hit, it just went, 30 grand the first month, 60 grand the next month, 90 grand the next month. And that's the beauty about e-commerce. It's like when you stick at it and when you fail enough times and when you hit the right thing, it can change your life in a split second. It's like the age old saying, it's it took me a lifetime to be an overnight success, That's the beauty of e-commerce. So let's jump into kind of maybe some case studies and really paint the picture of what you've been able to do for some students, because what I want our audience to get out of this episode right now is maybe if they're in a little bit of a rut, they've tried a few different businesses and they haven't been able to get success, or maybe they've gotten success and it just hasn't translated to money. What are some amazing transformations you've seen within your coaching program? James, why don't you take this one away?
Sure. Well, one example I really like is a girl called Tyler. And Tyler is from New Zealand. She's a young girl. She's incredible. And she came to us and she decided to obviously invest in our program, which is great. And essentially, long story short, she managed to do over 150K in sales just recently, and we're in the process of helping her scale. But what I really like about her was it wasn't her coming at from the angle of I want to make money quick, I want to become a 6-figure case study, whatever it may be. She came with the angle was I'm passionate about something and I want to build a business in that specific niche that can fund my lifestyle outside of my job. That was her framing. She's very health conscious, eco-conscious, and she wanted to build an eco-friendly e-commerce store. And so we dove down that route. We found a winning product. We tested it, and obviously it went berserk, and we're in the process of scaling for it now. But the thing that I liked about it most was it wasn't just the fact that she showed up to every single coaching call. It wasn't just the fact that she asked for help every single day. It wasn't the fact that she put in the work every single day, even when the early stages were a little bit iffy, right? It was the fact that she did all that with a purpose. She did it with a reason. And that meant that it was so much easier to work with her because it wasn't about the numbers day to day. It was about where are we heading and who are we serving. And that's why she blew up so quickly. And that's what we love with all of our students is when they come in, we try to pivot them and look at a reason why they're doing it. Who do you want to impact? What kind of value do you want to give to your end customer? Because then you're not looking at it as a Shopify dashboard. You're looking at it as a real business with a real target customer at the end.
Yeah, I like that at all. And like you mentioned the why when you were talking about your client then. So what was your why, James?
Initially, it was quite selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I was bullied really badly. I was a strange kid. I was very eclectic. I probably still am a little bit out there.
All the best are.
Right? And as a result, nothing stopped me from being me. I still, did the dancing. I still did the magic, all that kind of stuff. But on top of that, there was a drive to essentially show people that I can make it. I may be the bullied kid in primary school, the bullied kid in high school, but I'm going to be the fucking king of the castle and I'm going to make a life for myself. And that's what drove me. And it was really, really significance based. And I got that up until the age of 19. I was, making six figures at the time. And, I was really, really loving it. And I was living the lifestyle. It was great. Up until that point, it was entirely just significance based. From there, however, it switched to growth. And that was the most important thing for me because Tony Robbins says there's 6 human needs. You've got certainty, uncertainty, all these different things. But 2 of them are the needs of the spirit. And one of them is growth. And the second one is contribution. And so that's what I've now focused on. So my why is growth for myself, as I said, competitive greatness, but then there's also contribution, which is how can I give back in that process?
And you definitely have given back. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like what good is success if you can't share it?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Fantastic. So we've got roughly about 8 or so minutes left in this episode. So I want to kind of, we can talk about Brightly Teeth and all that kind of stuff. And like, I'm sure you guys have spoken about that millions of times. So I really want to dive into like the mind of you guys and where you guys are heading. Cause you're 21 fucking years old, like you guys have achieved so much and not just in terms of like I said in the beginning, not just in terms of monetary success, but in terms of impact, and that's what really lights me up. So I want to know where you guys are heading, whether it's, you're going to maintain this partnership and try and build an empire together. You're going to continue with the coaching program. Like, Aiden, what does the future hold for you, man?
Yeah, fantastic question.
Yeah.
I'm very certain for the next couple of years, James and I are going to keep working together, especially on our coaching business, Brightly, and as well as a couple of other projects that we have in the works. So you'll find out more about that later. But look, I don't know what's going to happen past that. For now, at least, it's all about impact. Getting impact, myself, my family, my friends, and anybody else I encounter along this journey we call life.
Yeah, fantastic. James, what's your future hold, bro?
Yeah, it's all about mastery at the end of the day. It's about mastering everything that I love. It's the skills, it's the copywriting, the marketing, the speaking, the influence, all these kind of things that I love. It's mastering those skills because that's once again what gives you that fulfillment and then giving back with the form of impact, right? So that's our coaching business. It's not meant to be a mentoring program. It's not meant to be a course. We want it to really, really become an education company, which we can build over the next 2, 5, even 10 years time, which is very, very important to us. Then from there, obviously, we're investing and we're putting money into different places so we can grow our wealth. So at that point, we don't have to come at it from the frame of, we need to make money this year. What kind of business are we going to run? It's what are we passionate about? We're already building wealth in the background. So what do we actually want to do that will light us up? And who knows what that would be, right? We've got some e-commerce projects that we're launching next year we're excited about, but we don't know yet. We're focused on what's in front of us, to be honest.
Yeah. Awesome.
100%.
And so let's kind of change the tone a little bit on this conversation. Like we've spoken about your business, we've spoken about that kind of mindset, but what do you guys do to incorporate like and improve your own, say, I don't know, whether it's like mental health or spirituality? Like, are you guys into breath work, any of that kind of stuff? Like, You know, like let's take this conversation down that path, because I know that's a huge interest of mine. So where are you guys at in terms of like alternative practices? Whoever wants to take it away, maybe James, you can lead this one.
James, you can start, and I'll tack in after you.
All right. So for me, personal development is a massive part of my life. I've quoted him a couple of times. I quote him a couple of times an hour in my personal life as well. Tony Robbins. Yeah. I love him. All of his books, all of his audio programs. I'm in his university at the moment. I just did Date with Destiny. I've got Business Mastery next month. I'm in everything he does. He is basically the best personal development coach on the planet. And everything I learn is really based on his philosophy. It's basically two things. It's the science of achievement and it's the art of fulfillment. Right? It's a science of achievement. It's a strategy. It's a science. It's do X, get Y. But then it's the art of fulfillment, because that's not a science. It's an art. What are you going to do that's going to make you fulfilled? And that's partially around your environment. Who do you surround yourself with? Who's your social circle? Who are your partners? What's your relationship with your family like? And there's also your relationship with yourself. So I do breath work. I like stuff around letting go. I learn a lot of that kind of stuff. And all that kind of stuff. Meditation, I find really, really useful. When I do it consistently, I should do a little bit more. But breath work, letting go practices, they've been really, really useful for me. And then a lot of the personal development stuff to really keep myself on track and just push for that competitive greatness each and every day.
Love that.
Agreed. Very similar. So me and James, we obviously share a lot of, our knowledge together, and we share a lot of the things that we're learning and that sort of stuff. So I do a lot of the same stuff he does, right? I do the breath work, the meditations, all that sort of stuff, the cold showers, all that fun stuff. But what I've found has really, really helped me the most over the last month or so is just each and every day constantly like sharpening my sword, reading a book or two. Like at the moment I'm reading, the psychology of money, that sort of stuff. But reading's been the one thing for me the last couple of weeks that has really helped me, unwind, step away from work, step away from all that sort of stuff. And almost like it's meditation. Reading has kind of become my meditation lately, which has been really good.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I definitely kind of on another note to that, like I definitely went through a stage where I almost procrastinated with gaining knowledge. And I don't know if you guys have been through that stage, especially when times are going tough in the business, you get all these positive emotions from gaining knowledge. And yet, like when I look back on it, it's like, oh, I really didn't need to listen to that podcast when I should have been, making sales calls or something like that. It's funny. Like I feel like I 100%. Talk to lots of entrepreneurs and we all go through that stage in one way or another. But at the end of the day, at least we're procrastinating with something positive. But I definitely contribute reading to one of the areas that really like shook my life. I feel like, and anytime I get the opportunity to, I just kind of try and push that on someone. It's like, you can gain a lifetime of knowledge in like 8 hours or something like that. It's so overpowered, and yet like we take it for granted. It's incredible. Yeah. And I had an incredible, have you guys ever done holotropic breath work? Have you heard of that before?
Heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had this incredible experience over the weekend where I kind of had because what it does, just for anyone listening who hasn't heard of it, it basically releases DMT from the pineal gland. And I had this incredible kind of psychedelic experience where my infant self was like hovering above my face, and it was just subconsciously conveying this message to me is like, oh, you're on the right path. Keep going. And it blows my mind that we can reach those heights and within ourselves without the need of any kind of external substance or anything like that. It's absolutely incredible. So, it seems to be this underlying trend. People that are excelling in business are also going to new heights and spending lots of time incorporating and excelling in their own personal health as well. So it's fantastic to hear you boys are on that path as well. So real quick, just before we run out of time, if you could have dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be? James, kick this one off.
Tony Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer to everything. Tony Robbins, 100%.
Yeah. That's a tough question. For me, it's between either Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. I don't know who I would prefer to have dinner with. And honestly, either or would be fantastic.
Yeah. No, I get that 100%. And Steve Jobs is my fucking boy. So I've got like the Think Different tattoo right here. Oh,
I love that.
That's sick.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. No, literally, man. I think that's I've read the Steve Jobs book. I'm reading it at the moment for probably this sixth time now. He's my fucking boy. So
fuck yeah.
Much respect on that one. Hey. So boys, this has been an absolute pleasure. I have lots of admiration and respect for what you guys are building, and I know you have a huge future in front of you. So I'm really grateful for you, sharing your time. Because I know you're making big waves in this world. So I'm really grateful you guys would share that with me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic, man. So you guys have a fantastic night. This has been Before the Money. We've got Aiden Gatani, James Conti. Real quick, can you please drop your Instagram handle?
eCom James _
eCom James, and Aiden, your handle?
Real Aiden Gatani.
Fantastic. Make sure you go check them out. Follow their content. It is pure gold. Check out their course. Get amongst this lifestyle because it is super, super inspiring. Boys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Have a great night, guys. Catch you later.
Gotcha.
Hey, what is up, family? Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging around all the way to the end. If you took home a piece of value from this episode and you feel the need to contribute to our mission here at Before the Money, there is a donation link below, and simply for the price of a coffee, you can help us change more lives and spread the message of growth and positivity that we are so incredibly passionate about. Now, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram, either through my personal page @_Jack William or through the brand @BeforeTheMoney_. I would love to hear what you guys took away from this episode. Like, follow, or subscribe. Leave us a review on Apple Podcast, or simply share this episode to your story. Seriously, guys, anything that you can do to help spread this message is so greatly appreciated and helps so much more than you guys could ever imagine. So last thing before we say our goodbyes for this episode, take full advantage of this incredible offer from our sponsors, Anarchy Label. Head to anarchylabel.com and use the code BTM15 to save yourself 15% off. That's BTM15. Thank you so much again, guys. This has been a blast. I will see you guys guns blazing next week for another awesome episode. Peace and love.